So, I was just reading this article the other day, and I thought it was a really exciting article, and I wanted to share it with you. So if I could have everybody quiet and listening to me. So what we're going to do first, I just want to get this clear. When we are listening, I need you guys all to be looking at me, tracking me around the room, and be quiet, okay? And then when I ask a question, I would like to see hands in the air, and I want to hear from at least 2 people when I ask a question. All right? So I'm going to read you this article that I found, and what I want you to get out of it is to know what an argument is. And I also want you to know what evidence for that argument is. Now, I know you guys talked a little bit about evidence before with Mr. B. So can anyone tell me what is evidence? I see no one's hand. Like data you could collect? Rasan? It's things that can help you prove something. Emmanuel? It's proof. Exactly. Darian? It's information that you build up to find something. So I have some really good answers for evidence. Now, does anyone know what an argument is? And we're not talking necessarily...
A debate.
There's a debate. Exactly. What did you say, Mon? That's correct. Shouldn't have done that. Okay, so do I have any other answers? What is an argument? We have a debate from Emmanuel. Razan? What was that? A fuss? Yeah, it's kind of like a fuss. Imani. What was that? A disagreement. All right, Razan? A word fight. And Darian? Trying to make a point. All right, I need quiet. Everybody's eyes on me? Everybody's eyes on me. Perfect. So, we have established a couple definitions for argument and evidence. So the kind of argument that we're going to be focusing on today is the argument that you use in an article. So it's kind of like Razan said, it's kind of like a word fight. It's kind of like a debate, like Emmanuel said. Can I pick up all 4? All 4 on the ground. Terrence, all 4 on the ground, please. Thank you. So it's kind of like a word fight. But basically, you want to prove something with an argument. And that's where the evidence comes in. So as I'm reading, I want you to kind of think about what the argument is and what some of the evidence for the argument is. All right. So now we can begin. So what are some muscles that you have in your body? Dylan. Your arm muscles and your calf muscles. Emmanuel? That's true too. David? And your thighs? Okay. Only people who've raised their hands should be speaking. What was that? I said that only people who have raised hands should be speaking.
Who said that?
Marcellus.
Chest.
Chest muscles. Great. So we have some good ideas of what some muscles are. And how do you use your muscles? I have to see silent hands. I have to see silent hands. I need everybody silent, and I need eyes on me. Marcellus. What was that? Flexing. Okay. And how do you use your muscles? And how do they get stronger? I need silent hands. Emmanuel. How do you make your muscles stronger?
You make your muscles stronger by eating right and working out.
Okay, working out, eating right. Any other answers, Dylan?
Eating vegetables and working out.
Okay, all right. Hey, I hear talking when I shouldn't hear talking. I should only hear Dylan's voice because I asked him a question. I don't see any raised hands right now, so I can't hear talking right now. David. Okay, good. So let's keep that in mind as we start to read. And we had a pretty accurate prediction. Who said brain? I think it was Emmanuel. So this article that I'm about to read to you, please put all fours on the ground. All fours on the ground, thank you. So this article that I'm going to read to you is called You Can Grow Your Brain. New research shows the brain can be developed like a muscle. Great. So, many people think of the brain as a mystery. We don't often think about what intelligence is or how it works. And when you do think about intelligence, you might think that a person is either born smart, born average, or born dumb, either a math person or not a math person, and they'll stay that way for life. But new research shows that the brain is more like a muscle. It changes and it gets stronger when you use it. Scientists have been able to show that just how the brain grows and gets stronger when you learn. Everyone knows that when you lift weights, as we were saying, and exercise, your muscles get bigger and you get stronger. A person who can't lift 20 pounds when they start exercising can get strong enough to lift 100 pounds after working out a long time. That's because muscles become larger and stronger with exercise. And when you stop exercising, the muscles shrink and get weaker. That's why people say, use it or lose it. But most people don't know when they practice and learn new things, parts of their brain change and get larger, a lot like muscles do. This is even true for adults. So, it's not true that some people are stuck being not smart or not math people. You can improve your abilities a lot, as long as you practice good strategies. So I just want to stop here for a second. What do you guys think of this statement? Do you agree with this? Do you disagree? Darian?
I agree.
You agree with this? Why do you agree?
Because if you like overwork your muscles, you get weaker. You get like more lazy and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And
Okay, Dylan?
you work out a lot, you stop, your muscles turn fat.
Uh-huh. Yeah. What do you think about the brain?
Your brain can get stronger by you.
What was that? I need to sign a hand. Dylan?
Your brain can get stronger by you reading books and eating right.
Good. Hassan? What do you think? Yeah, about your brain. Huh? I would think that is part of not eating right. All right. Did Emmanuel have?
Say if you got use the smartest person on earth. I know it's not that possible, but what if you hit your head and you forget a whole bunch of stuff that makes your brain weaker? Because I know if someone got shot and they was real cocky, then they could get skinny from laying down in the hospital a while.
Yeah, that's kind of true. If you get an injury in your brain, you can lose certain things. There's really interesting research done with conditions like bronchosphagia, which just means that you lose your ability to speak sometimes. So if a person has a stroke, they might not be able to speak properly.
And then you're that.
Huh? Yeah, they get really funny speech, and it's not necessarily that they're not smart, it's just that they can't form the words anymore. So yes, injuries can affect your brain. Marcellus?
I'm saying, my grandma worked for this lady, and she had to ride around, and then she got something, and she can't remember. She can't remember some things.
Yeah, you can really lose some stuff. Emmanuel, I didn't see a hand, but I was gonna. Hang on.
I know it sounds fake because it's TV show.
You can speak in a second. I need everyone to be silent, because when you're speaking, I want everyone to hear what you have to say.
It's a TV show, don't sound.
Do I have... I need a silent hand, and I need everyone to be silent first, okay? Just 1 second. All right. Hand? Okay, Emmanuel.
Like the man, it was a TV show about a cop.
Mm-hmm.
But since he was a cop, something happened to him, so that made him ex-cop. He lost some memory. And since when he lost his memory, it was one episode I just started watching, and he touched one of them hot light bulb things, and he said, ah, and then he touched it again, and he said, ah. And
Yeah.
then when he went to the hospital, they said, he said, what happened to his finger? And they said he touched the light bulb. Then they said, what happened to his other finger? He touched it again. They said, he touched it again?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have fun. Yeah, your memory can really affect you. All right. So, okay.
Somebody else was laying down. That's how you get the little nerve needles.
Mm-hmm.
Like when somebody was laying down, he said that wiggling the nerve needles in their back. The person was sitting there saying, ah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really interesting. All right, so I need everybody to be silent now because we're going to continue reading because we have some really interesting conversations going about the brain. All right. So, inside the outside layer of the brain, called the cortex, are billions of tiny nerve cells called neurons. The nerve cells have branches connecting them to other cells in a complicated network. Communication between brain cells is what allows us to think and solve problems. When you learn new things, these tiny connections in the brain actually multiply and get stronger. The more you challenge the mind, the more the brain cells grow. I'm going to stop. I need quiet. I need you guys to be quiet. Thank you. Then things that you once found very hard or even impossible to do, like speaking a foreign language or doing algebra, become easier. The result is a stronger, smarter brain. So it sounds like there's a lot of evidence in this article for the argument that we can make our brains smarter. And the reason for that is that nerves in the brain, nerve cells multiply and grow. So can anybody recap what is the argument of this article? Any ideas? That the brain is a muscle. Dylan.
The brain is the machine. It's the machine behind your body.
The brain is the machine behind your body. Kind of close. It's close to what Hassan said, and it's very it's in the right direction. Emmanuel, what's the argument?
Brain is also a detail.
What was that?
Brain is also a detail of your body.
The brain is also a detail of your body. Dylan.
I mean, the heart is the machine behind your body. The brain is the...
Okay. The brain is the... Okay. So what this article... That might be true, but what this article is arguing is actually more like what Hassan said. Hassan, to reiterate... All fours on the ground, please, Emmanuel and Brandon.
All fours. Oh, yeah.
The chair.
Oh.
No. So like Hassan said, the brain can get stronger. The brain is a muscle. That's what the argument of this paper is. This article isn't talking about this. All right, so we have some ideas about what the argument is. And what to recap, is the evidence in this article? What is some of the evidence? Do you have an idea, David? Let me just reread something for you. Can I have some quiet over here, please? All right, so I'm going to reread a paragraph for you, and I want you to think about what some of the evidence is. All right. When you learn new things, these tiny connections in the brain actually multiply and get stronger. The more you challenge your mind, the more your brain cells grow. So how can we use that as evidence? Darian. Yeah,
Brain muscle get stronger too.
yeah. Like when you read, you get more practice and you get smarter. Yeah, Emmanuel.
Yeah, brain muscle with the size of what you do.
Yeah, your brain muscle. Do you mean your brain muscle depends on what you do?
Yeah, like if you wanna get strong, it's gonna like help you.
Yeah, it's gonna help you to eat well and stuff. Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna continue. So the section of this is called "How do we know that the brain can get stronger?" So scientists started thinking the human brain could develop and change when they studied animals' brains. They found that animals who lived in a challenging environment with other animals and toys to play with were different from animals who lived alone in bare cages. While the animals who lived alone just ate and slept all the time, the ones who lived with different toys and other animals were always active. They spent a lot of time figuring out how to use the toys and how to get along with other animals. These animals had more connections between nerve cells in their brains. The connections were bigger and stronger too. In fact, their whole brains were about 10% heavier than the brains of the animals who lived without toys and alone. The adult animals who were exercising their brains by playing with toys and each other were also smarter. They were better at solving problems and learning new things. So, wow, that's pretty convincing. They just told us that the more we learn, the more connections our nerve cells make, and the smarter our brain gets. How does this happen with the animals? Dylan?
They learn how to talk.
No, that's not what the article said. What did the article say? What did the article say the animals were doing to make their brain stronger? Brandon? Yeah, Brandon made a good point. They played with toys. Darian? I need silence over here. Darian is speaking. Darian is speaking, you guys, and I really want to hear what he has to say. Imani, Ricardo. Thank you. Okay, Darian, will you repeat what you were saying? Yeah. Yeah. So that's an example of an animal who had a toy to play with and was able to grow smarter because of that. Emmanuel.
Would it be possible for animals to talk like them guys talk like behavior like big birds? Like, hi or no?
Well, I need everybody to be quiet because I want to validate Emmanuel's question here. All right. So while this article doesn't talk about that, there's a lot of different research that you can do into this. Animals don't actually have the same vocal capabilities as humans. They have different vocal capabilities. So some can speak, but they can't necessarily understand what they're saying. Brandon.
What about parrots?
Parrots, they can speak. All right. So yes, parrots can speak, but they don't necessarily connect words like a human would. So it's really interesting. But let's refocus on the article now. So the next section is, can adults grow their brains? Scientists have recently shown that adults can grow parts of their brains, that control their abilities, like the ability to juggle or do math. In one study, scientists found a group of adults who were not jugglers. They taught half how to practice juggling in the right way. These people practiced for a long time and got much better at juggling. The other half didn't practice, and they didn't get better at juggling. They found that the people who learned to juggle actually grew the parts of their brain and got much better at juggling. Next, the scientists used the brain scanner. To compare brains of the two groups of people. They found that the people, they found that the people who learned how to juggle actually grew parts of their brains and their juggling skills. The visual and motor areas of their brains. The visual and motor areas of their brains grew. This can happen because learning causes permanent changes in the brain. The juggler's brain cells get larger and make the juggler's brain stronger and smarter, just like a weightlifter's toned muscles. So, let's stop here for a second. According to what we just read, what is some more evidence that we can actually grow our brain? Some more evidence that we can grow our brain. Jeremiah. You know that you're not supposed to have it in class. No, I don't care.
At the end of class, you'll get it, or the information.
Thank you. Jeremiah, what was your answer? Some more evidence that this just gave.
When you learn, the brain gets bigger.
Mm-hmm. And what was the evidence that the article? All right. Refocus, guys. Thanks. What was the evidence that the article cited? How did these people grow their brains?
One had to the adult group. They had learned how to juggle.
Uh-huh.
And the other had they didn't study or learn
Mm-hmm.
how to juggle.
Yeah, they learned how to juggle, and they grew their brains. Imani.
One group, they practice.
Yeah.
And they really work hard. The other group was just like, oh, I can't juggle.
Yeah. Yeah, so they really worked hard to grow their brains. And so they did grow their brains when they did work hard. All right, so the final section. A formula for growing your math brain equals effort plus good strategies plus help from others. And that will give you a math brain. All right. Scientists have also found that learning to juggle is a lot like getting better at math. When people learn and practice new ways of doing algebra or statistics, it can grow their brains, even if they haven't done well in math in the past. Strengthening the math part of your brain usually happens when you try hard on challenging math problems. But it's not just the effort. You need to learn new skills that you haven't learned already, and you need to learn them in a smarter way. If you use a bad strategy, you may not learn even if you try hard. A few people study for math by doing the same set of easy problems and skipping the hard ones, or just rereading the textbook because it feels easier. Yet, when it comes to time to test, they don't do well because they didn't work on the problems that stretched their brains and taught them new things. When this happens, they may even say, I'm just not smart at math. But the truth is that everyone can become smarter at math if they practice in the right way. If a weightlifter watched other people exercise all day long, he wouldn't get any stronger. And if someone tried to actually learn how to juggle just by reading a book about juggling, they wouldn't learn. You actually have to practice the right way. And usually that means the hard way, to get better at something. In fact, scientists have found that the brain grows more when you learn something new and less when you practice something that you already know. The truth about smart and dumb. All right, so how do we become better at math, guys? Jeremiah.
By studying hard and studying the right things.
By studying hard and studying the right things. Marcellus. By practicing. What kind of practicing? Do we practice the easy things that we already know?
No, that's when your brain gets.
I need a silent hand. Jeremiah.
No, that's when your brain gets smaller.
That's when, well, it doesn't get smaller, but it doesn't grow as much. All right, great. So, the truth about smart and dumb. People aren't smart or dumb at math. At first, no one can read or solve equations, but with practice, they can learn to do it. And the more a person learns, the easier it gets to learn new things, because the brain muscles have gotten stronger. That sounds familiar. It sounds just like the argument from the beginning. So what is the argument of this article again?
Brain.
Right hands? Jeremiah.
Brain.
Brains, what? That doesn't sound very much like an argument to me. Emmanuel, can you add on to that?
Smart or dumb at math.
People are smart or dumb at math? Is that what they aren't smart or dumb at math? Good. That's perfect. That is what the argument of this paper is. That the brain can grow stronger and that people aren't smart or dumb at math. All right. This is true even for adults who have struggled for a long time to learn something. Dr. Wittenberg, a scientist from Wake Forest University, said, "We used to think that adults can't form new brain connections, but now we know that isn't true. The adult brain is like a muscle, and we need to exercise it." So one thing that's important that he just said there, and I kind of want to clarify this. He said the brain is like a muscle, so it's not exactly a muscle, but it's very much like a muscle in that it grows. So I just want to clarify that. So people who don't know this can miss out on the chance to grow a stronger brain. They may think they can't do it or that it's too hard. It does take work to learn, just like becoming stronger physically or becoming a better juggler. Sometimes it even hurts. But when you feel yourself get better and stronger, you realize that all the work is worth it. So let's just go over this again. What is some of the evidence? Darian. And how Yeah, they can grow their brains.
Dang.
All right. Okay. So what's some evidence that the brain can grow? What's some evidence that the article cited? We talked about it along the way. Darian. What did the people in this article do? Juggled. David? Okay. Do you know what did the animals do? That's some more evidence. Okay, what about the animals? And what? Yeah. That was something that we added when you brought it to the discussion, but this article did mention toys, and they also mentioned being around other people, or being around other animals. So that's some evidence that this article gave. So now you should know a little bit about evidence and argument. And I hope you enjoyed the article, because I thought it was a really interesting read. So, yeah. All right.